Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've got the 2016 F-350 back out, as you can see behind me. And I'm going to get to a project on it that I've been procrastinating on for about a year and a half. I'll pop a playlist up here in the corner. You can go and check out all the lights I put on this thing. I started with doing all of the cab lights up there, and then I made these under the cab light bars on each side. Then I put this back rack on there, outfitted it with side marker lights and red colored lights across the back. And now I'm going to make a corresponding light bar with the same style marker and signal lights as are on the back rack to go beneath the tailgate down here. So at the time I finished the back rack, I had this this plastic little light bar thing down here, and it just I don't like these cheap plastic things. I like something a little bit higher quality, and I never really liked the look of this. And I'd like to tie in some red marker lights with turn signals like I have on the back rack back there. So I've had all the materials to do this for well over a year. It's about time I get going on it. Okay, this is the material we're going to make the light bar out of. This is the 1-inch thin wall steel square tubing, and I have everything marked and center punched for the same layout as what is on the back rack. So we have the middle three are continuous running lights, as are the far lights on each end, but then the three just inboard of those are tied in with the turn signals. So we're going to do the same thing here with the exact same spacing. So we are 6-inch on center between the three middle ones, and we have a gap of 19 inches on center until we get to the ones down here on the end. We will have the three turn signal and brakes. I should say these three are also tied in with brakes, and then the continuous on light out on each end. So this piece is 62 inches long altogether. The final inch on each end is going to be beveled instead of just having a square end on that piece of steel bar. And of course we're going to put it right down below the tailgate down there. So flat face total is going to be 60 inches with the 1 inch of bevel on each end. Next time you see this piece, I will have all of these holes drilled. I need to drill 3/4 inch holes where each light is going to go. I use these Peterson LED V171Rs. Basically, I have this little test piece here. Show you what you do. You drill a 3/4 inch diameter hole, which just fits on the flat face of this 1-inch square. You pop the grommet in there and push the light in to the center of it. That's what retains it. This 1-inch square tubing will just barely hold these lights, and I have plenty of room inside to fold the wires over, so I will not have to put a hole on the back side to run them out. I can route everything through the center. So I'll get drilling on this and report back. Alright, so we got a bunch of holes in it now. Definitely no turning back at this point, right? I finished off each end so that they won't be just square, and that way I can also close them in as well. To mount this now, we'll turn it to the back side. You can see I have these 2 slotted holes. What I'm going to do, take this 5/16 bolt. I've cut each edge off of the head so it can fit in that slot, and then we can turn it. Then I can go and close the rest of that in with weld, and it's going to hold that bolt in there. It's going to be like a stud that sticks out the back side. I'm going to do the same thing with this one right here. So if we get under here and see, I'm going to utilize that hole up in there and that hole up in there. Those are the 2 mounting locations for the factory center light bar, and I found that it's best if I just keep these centered up with those holes for best exposure, because we're not going to have a lot of room between the bumper and the tailgate to see these things, so you definitely want to have those centered up pretty well. And also, speaking of not a lot of room, we'll look at the bottom of the bar. I'm going to have to run the power up through the bottom, so that's going to be the best way to do it, access it through there. I've got an entry hole for that, so might as well weld all these things up now. Okay, everybody, for this step, I've got the tailgate off. The welding is all done, closed in each end, and I was able to flush out where those bolts stick through on the back. So all that stuff should be good and ready to go. Everything is sealed in. So the next thing I need to do is test fit this onto the back of the truck. Make sure my bolt or stud spacing in this case is correct. So we'll line it with those two holes. Fits just like it was made for it. I'll secure this thing and we'll do some clearance checks. Just finishing up putting the tailgate back on now. So we're going to want to look down here, make sure this bottom lip of the gate does not hit the bar. Having a look down here, looking like we're good. Let's check in here when we hinge. Plenty of room. Looking good. I told you guys it was going to be tight in there, but it fits. And I only have this spaced out about 1/8 of an inch away from the back of the box right now. I think I could go a full quarter if I needed to. But happy with how that fits. So we got to get the tailgate back off to get the bar back off. All right, bar's off again. Ready for paint. All right, in the shop on the bench, I went with a matte black finish because I really didn't want anything too glossy. I wanted this to kind of match the color that's on the back rack, and I don't want it to be too conspicuous in the daylight. I just kind of want it to be tucked under there, but I wanted something with a little bit more gloss than just a flat black too. I've started wiring for the lights just a little bit. Now I'm sticking with the standard 4-pin flat wire color code, which is yellow is left turn, green is right turn, brown or tan is running light, and then white is always ground. Now, I've got 4 twisted pairs in here. We'll just start with the brown and the whites. So this one goes out to this end, and then this other one goes clear out to the other end down there. What I'm going to do is wire in each end light. We'll just take this one down here, and these are LEDs, light emitting diodes, and a diode only allows voltage to flow in one direction. So with these, the black is the power, the white is the ground. If you hook them up backwards, they're not going to work. So I'll go ahead and splice this onto my existing pigtail that's sticking out. I'll solder and shrink tube that. I use this this stuff I get from work. It's the good high quality stuff that has the glue that seals it. Once I get the light soldered on, I will go ahead and pull all the excess slack in, pop the light in place, and then I'll just work down to where the other running lights need to be in the middle here, pull some of that out, do another splice, seat that in, and then just work on down the line, and then finish with this one down here. Once I know what my finished end slack is going to be here, I will go up close here, I'll splice the brown to the brown, the white to the white, and then tuck those splices up in here, so I'll only have 2 wires sticking out, power and ground, for all the continuous on running lights instead of these 4. It just cleans it up a little bit. Now, when I wire the lights in for the signals and the brakes, I'm going to have to run a separate ground wire for those because I get my steady power for just the running lights from number 4 upfitter switch that's on the dash of the truck. Now, click on this link that just appeared right here. I explained how I wired all that back when I did the back rack lights and the side running lights as well. But for the turn signal lights, what I do is get my power from the 4-pin flat trailer connector. It's already on the back of the truck. So I will just tap the green wire here into the green wire back there, and the yellow wire here into the yellow wire back there. So these will have continuous power anytime a signal or a brake light is on. But I'm going to have to switch the ground side of it to enable or disable those. I like to be able to switch all of these extra lights I put on these trucks so that I can turn those off and only be running with the standard factory equipment ones. So that's why I need a separate ground wire for the lights that are going to be the signals and the brakes, because I have to switch the ground wire on to make those work, and then I just switch the power wire on with the number 4 upfitter switch to make all of the running lights work, and the running lights just have a continuous ground all the time. I hope that makes sense. If you know basic wiring, it should. If you don't know basic wiring, unfortunately I can't take time to teach you, but this is YouTube. You can find all kinds of stuff, I'm sure. So I'm going to get to soldering and splicing here. and we'll just pop in a couple times and check on my progress. Alright, to illustrate what I was just telling you about, you can see I've soldered and shrink tubed this light onto the pigtail, and I'm starting to pull excess out of the next running light hole right here. So we'll pull the excess on this side. You can see the light will start to find its way into the bar. I've got the grommet in place already, so we'll just seat that light home. That's where that one's going to live. So now we have plenty of excess sticking out here where we can just we can cut wires there and there. You can then strip the ends, pigtail them, twist them together, and make your splice. What I do is where I cut each wire, I just basically twisted each end back to itself again and then piggybacked the corresponding wire from the light down alongside one of them. That way, after I solder this and shrink tube it, I'll be left with a very clean splice that has 2 wires exiting the one side and 1 wire exiting the other, and we're nice and smooth down through the middle. And always remember to put your shrink tube on before you make your splice, because it's a mistake everybody's going to make, and the best splice you'll ever make with the best soldered joint is going to be the one that you forgot to put the shrink tube on first and you'll have to cut it apart and do it over again. Ask me how I know. And with the splices made, we can once again pull slack on this end, guide the light down into the grommet, seat it home, and repeat the process on down the line for all the rest of these. I'll cut into these wires here, splice the next light in, pull my slack down, just keep working on down the line. Same process for the signal and brake lights as well. Now here's something else I wasn't planning on showing, but it's kind of handy and it can save you some splicing. You can see I've got these 3 lights in such close proximity to one another, and they all basically operate in unison. So you can route all of these into one splice. Basically on each side of this splice I have 3 wires going in to 1 wire coming out. So you just take this light, route it through out this hole, the next light into its hole out this back one, and then the other one just straight out the top. And once you get them all put together, give the wiring a pull, start guiding this stuff in. You can start pulling all those home, and then you'll have a lot more room to tuck wires in here without 3 separate splices under 3 separate lights. You've basically got all 3 of these put in with 1 splice. Just seating the last rubber grommet. You can pop this one home. Pop the next one home. And plenty of room for the third one. There. Saves you some time and some materials. Okay everybody, finished product right here. All the lights are in and wired, and you can see on this bottom side where the harness goes in, I put a rubber grommet in there to protect those wires from being chafed on any sharp edges. I wrap the harness in good convoluted tubing and tape, and you can see I put these 2-pin connectors out here. They are sealed connectors. I've also done the same thing for the corresponding circuits on the truck, and I really like to put inline connectors in things. I hate hardwiring anything, because if I ever have to take this off to work on something, I want to just be able to disconnect it quick, get it out of the way. Years and years of lifting cabs on Ford diesels at work, and guys have always hardwired in from the batteries back to like the pickup box. There's fuel tanks back there and pumps and toolboxes, and they hardwire that stuff every time. It's never their problem, but I come along to lift the cab and I'm cutting and splicing all these wires because nobody bothered to put a connector in. Well, I get off topic. Anyway, that's my rant. So we have the 2-pin connector for the yellow and green wires. That is for signals and brake lights. We have this single white wire going to this connector. This is my switched ground for these brake and signal lights. And then in this other 2-pin connector, we have the brown wire, which is the power feed from number 4 upfitter switch for the tail lights, and then the white constant ground for that. And the reason I have 2 female connectors and 1 male on there. That is to ensure that the white wire connectors cannot be hooked up backwards. They can only go one way, but all the wire colors are the same on the truck, so if you just match all the wire colors with the wire colors that are coming out of these, you can't get it hooked up wrong. So let's fit it up. One more thing I want to mention, I turned out these white hard plastic spacer washers to go over the mounting studs. They will prevent any horrible metal on metal contact between the bar and the paint on the back of the box. I'm also going to use these 5/16 nylock nuts on the inside. I have a lot better luck with those staying tight. So I'll just line the harness in where it needs to go. Align the studs with the holes in the back of the box. Then, working from underneath, tighten the nuts way up there where my finger is. Once those are tight, hook up the harness connectors. You can see green and yellow to green and yellow. We have brown and white to brown and white, and single white to single white. Should be ready to test it out. Okay, so in the daylight, you kind of can't tell that anything's down there. Alright, function check. We've got all of the amber lights on down the side because those are wired to upfitter switch number 3. We'll hit 4 and check the reds now. And now we'll pop the rocker switch, check the brake and signal lights. So it looks like everything's working just like it should. And I like that symmetry now. Back rack to everything below the tailgate. Spacing is all the same. Function is all the same. Signal lights, brake lights are all the same. And man, I like it so much better than this this piece of plastic that used to be down there. My eyelid is not going to twitch anymore. That's just how I wanted it to be. So it only took me 18 months to do it, sitting on those materials for that long, but I do like a truck with plenty of lights. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please tune in again.